It is Monday. It is the
Oh,
final
boy.
Monday of the MASL season. Tears. Can
Tears.
you see the tracks of my tears, my friend?
Oh, my God. I've been listening to Sarah McLachlan for the better part of the morning.
She's a good Canadian girl. What were you listening to there?
I will remember you. I don't want to sing
Oh,
it, very litigious. There's no
don't
reason
make
to
me
sing.
cry on air for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
we're just going to weep
Yeah, I'm
openly
already
for
sweating up
24
here. I'm going to
minutes.
be sweating down here as well. So, what's going on, everybody? This is MASL Monday. The Chrome Dome brothers, Alex, Phil, as we wrap up the season with our very last MASL Monday of the campaign, and we will be joined shortly by a friend of the show, Eddie P. Before we get there, though, Phil, we're going to cover the game from last night. There were three big things happening yesterday.
Yes.
There was the Ron Newman Cup final in Chihuahua. There was a Stanley Cup game for myself, very important with my Maple Leafs. And Phil likes Men in Tights. So there was WrestleMania as well.
Great movie.
Going on yesterday. Who won? I don't know if I can ask that
John
question.
Cena. John Cena broke the record, the 17-time world champion. Heel John Cena. I don't know if you've heard about it. Might have broken the world.
I did hear a little bit about that. Okay, yeah.
Listen,
I know. There were a lot of heartbroken kids out there, huh?
Including mine. That was a tough, we don't have school today, so we got to stay up late to watch WrestleMania. And when your hero loses, it's a bit tough.
Well, my Heroes won yesterday. The Maple Leafs won the opening game against the Ottawa Senators. They are planning the parade in Toronto already. That's a tradition. Every time we're in the playoffs, not to win the Stanley Cup, but if you win one playoff game, there's a parade down Yonge Street that happens.
That's all right.
Because we are a delusional fan base. But they looked good last night, so we're happy about that. We'll say that. But yeah, there's of course just one other big thing we've got to cover from last night, and that was Games 2 and then the mini game 3 in Chihuahua for the Ron Newman Cup final. Let's bring in our good buddy, friend of the show, Eddie P. in Dallas to join in there. Of course, coach of the Texas Outlaws as well. Eddie, how's it going, brother?
It's good. It's good. You had me at Tracks of Our Tears, a big Smokey Robinson fan. So
nice.
One of the best shows I've ever seen. So good to see you guys. Hope you had a good Easter.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
A
lot of travel.
Good time. Yeah, I was up in
Very
Whistler.
good. Very
Got
good.
To go
weather down here is
Whistler.
nice. It's about 85 degrees today, so unfortunately we've got some sun to deal with here. I'm working on my tan already.
I got to ski for 2 days up at Whistler.
Did you?
And then came down, and it was like 15 Celsius down here. But trust me, for this time of year, that's pretty good. So I got some sunshine in as well.
Awesome.
But there was a lot of sunshine south of the border, into sunshine cities in Chihuahua and San Diego facing off, boys, in the Ron Newman Cup final. Let's do the Capelli kickoff, brought to you by Capelli Sports, the official supplier of the Major Arena Soccer League. As we get to the highlights here, boys, Chihuahua takes game 2, 10-6 to force the mini game. What were your thoughts on this game, gentlemen?
I thought San Diego really did what they wanted to do early in the game. They got out to a lead. They put Chihuahua on the back foot. It seemed like they contained the offense too of the Savage. And then I really thought, I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, that incident right before half that we had all the cards coming out at the beginning of the second half, I thought that sparked the Savage, and I thought it sort of kicked them into a gear that we did not see in the first half. And San Diego couldn't stop their runs anymore. And they were firing from everywhere. The shots were falling. And really from that point on, San Diego had no shot of stopping.
I think congrats to both teams. I thought it was entertaining, especially the first half was brilliant. I mean, San Diego was obviously firing off cylinders, and Chihuahua kind of bent but didn't break, if you will. And it was 4-4 at the half. So, and San Diego was up at one point, 4-2 as well, too. So I thought it was a great first half. I thought San Diego made quite a few mistakes with 3-line passes and some top of the arc mishaps. And Chihuahua is so lethal. They had 43 shots, and I don't know the last time they were outshot, either home or away. And they must spend an enormous amount of time just hitting the ball in the back of the net because they hit some bombs. It was very entertaining, very impressive.
I mean, I kind of disagree, Phil, on whether that turned the corner. I felt Chihuahua had already kind of turned that corner when they got it to 4-4. They were going, I understand we had the halftime break there, but let's show the incident here and let's have a quick chit chat about it, guys, because the start of it looked pretty innocent to me, right? It was Ruggles and Castaneda, just sort of combining in the corner and then colliding a little bit, and then Ruggles kind of chested out and got in his face a little bit, but they were both in each other's faces, but it was fine. And then sort of what inflamed the situation was Juan Salcido, the Savage assistant coach. I feel coming off the bench, of course, he ended up getting a red card for first off the bench, but that to me sort of seemed like it was what kicked things into gear a bit. But Eddie, as the coach, tell me what you saw in that situation. And also, I mean, do you feel that played a part in swaying the game for Chihuahua?
I don't think it played as big a part as Phil mentioned, but I mean, you don't leave the bench. You just don't leave the bench. There's no excuse. There's no situation where it's allowed. I mean, you just don't leave the bench. I mean, you're a big hockey fan. I mean, you get fined severely for leaving the bench.
You get a 10 game suspension.
Exactly.
I believe it is.
It's just you don't leave the bench. I mean, you have college football benches clear sometimes, and there's massive fines involved, and you just don't leave the bench. I mean, I've said it 10 times already. So how big of a factor it played? As a player, okay, no big deal. Off we go. So you get a red card to one of the coaches, then you just move on. So not that big a deal for me.
I just want to say, like, from the San Diego side of it, you're doing what you want to do in that first half, right? And you're sort of, you're dictating play a little bit. You're stifling Chihuahua. Why give them any extra motivation, right?
Agreed.
You've got the mariachi band playing. You're already sucking wind because it's 95 degrees in there with the heat and the altitude. I just thought it was an unfortunate sort of opportunity that San Diego gave Chihuahua, and give them all the credit in the world. They sort of used it as the slingshot to the second half.
And things like that do, sorry, Alex, but things like that, Phil, they do alter flow. Yeah. And as a team in San Diego and both Chihuahua, actually, the good teams, they get on streaks. And you get 2, 3, 4 goals, maybe a couple of shots in a row, stuff like that. And it's a situation like that could alter the flow. So that definitely could be a factor as well, too.
I'm just going to say it again. Like, I think it could have gone the other way, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got Chihuahua that's actually was in the groove at that point. You've got something being made out of really wasn't much of anything. And you got a coach that ended up with a red card in the San Diego power play. That could have bit Chihuahua, actually. In hockey, you say don't drop the gloves if you're up. Don't give the other team an opportunity to punch you in the face, take out your enforcer, because that's going to change the momentum. I kind of felt like Chihuahua had the momentum at that point, even though we were going into the half. So it was interesting. Listen, at the end of the day, Chihuahua comes back, wins game 2. We're not leaving ourselves a lot of time to talk about the knockout game, Phil. Do you want to leave the knockout game for the next segment?
Yeah,
you want to do that? Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and then more MASL Monday coming back in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Monday, folks. Alex Bastiavansky, Phil Levanko, and friend of the show and head coach of the Texas Outlaws, Eddie Puskarich, joining us for the final show of the season. And now we're going to talk about the final game of the season, the mini game that decided the Ron Newman Cup last night in Chihuahua. Of course, the Savage took game 2, 10-6, forcing this contest. Guys, at the end of the day, it was kind of anticlimactic by the time we got to that point, wasn't it? Chihuahua takes it 6-0. I think it's by the time we got to that point, we kind of had a feeling it was everything that we talked about, that the way that we set it up through the season was that San Diego really had to get that home floor advantage. So when it got to this point, I think it was all the stuff we talked about previously pretty much coming true, that we knew San Diego was going to be up against it. And I think they were spent. And there's a lot of stuff we want to talk about this, so I'm going to shut up here. But from the elevation, Eddie, the teams flying in and having to adapt to that, which you've got a couple good points about, to, just San Diego, running out of energy, to the dimensions of Chihuahua. Let's just go to Eddie here. Eddie, your thoughts on the minigame?
So from a player and coach standpoint, I hate mini games. I wish we had the arena availability and the budgets to have a true best of 3. Because I don't know the actual stats, but I would assume that the team that wins game 2 usually wins game 3 because you have momentum. Obviously you're in a home field as well too. But It is what it is, but I think by that point you said, I think everybody who's watching the telecast was going to expect what we saw, and that was Chihuahua just maintained their wave of success from the second game, and then just handled the Sockers in the mini game and captured their three-peat. So congrats to them.
First three-peat since the Baltimore Blast did it from 2015 to 2018. Yeah, so I mean, listen, congratulations to Chihuahua, obviously a dynasty. Phil, go ahead.
I was just going to point out, too, not only did they win the Ron Newman Cup for the MASL, MASL2 champions, and the MASLW champions, right? So they're
impressive.
Little juggernaut down there in Chihuahua, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, Eddie, let's talk about the intricacies of playing in Chihuahua. We've talked about the dimensions. Here's a question that I want to ask you, which I'm not sure if you can answer, but I'm from Toronto, and I know that in Toronto, there's a lot. I mean, this is the city of approaching 7 million people now, but there's lots of facilities, and a lot of these indoor arena soccer facilities are smaller than a regulation size field, much more akin to what you see in Chihuahua. So if there was still a team in Toronto to prepare for Chihuahua, they could practice on those fields. Do you know if facilities like that exist in most of these MASL cities right now? And do teams take advantage of that? Is that something they should be doing in anticipation of the fact that you know you're going to have to beat Chihuahua in Chihuahua? So is there something that can be done? Do teams actually do that from your knowledge, Eddie?
So I think most teams are going to want to stay in their home field, their home training field. You've got your trainer there, your equipment there, your lockers and stuff as well too. We had the luxury in Dallas to have a smaller field to train at as well too, so we could replicate before we went to Chihuahua or Baltimore. We could replicate the small fields, but it's difficult. And whether the field is small or not, or regulation size, not regulation size. I mean, to me, yeah, it's small, but it's small for both teams. And at the end of the day, Chihuahua was just better, man for man. Yeah. Their players showed up. They were just a better team. Do they have an advantage in that small field? Absolutely. But they also know that to have that advantage, they have to take advantage of that. They shoot from everywhere. They get across midfield. They shoot. They took more shots last night from the corners to hit it off the goalkeeper, hit it off the boards, and guys crashing. And they take advantage of it. So, I mean, it's oddly enough, I was listening to you about the Baltimore three-peat, also a team that has a small field. So, got to be something to say for that. So, you have two three-peats on small field. So, it is what it is. But don't forget, they were 8-4 on the road. So, they were successful on the road as well, too. And they won the right to host games 2 and 3. So, give them credit.
They're a darn good team, and it does seem a bit like an unsolvable problem for the rest of the league, that corner sport, because it's not only the field, right? It's the altitude that you mentioned, it's the heat, it's the atmosphere, it's the travel, So you take all of those things in, and we haven't seen an American team win in corner sport in a couple of years, right? So if this sort of continues, it does seem like it's a bit of a rubric for the rest of the league. But you would like this, Alex. It's kind of like tennis, right? You got your clay court series, you got your hard court series, and it's just a different discipline of the game.
There are two ways to play Chihuahua, two schools of thought, and I've done both of them. One is to sit back, drop to midfield, or even deeper if you can, and try and counter them. The other is to go out and press them. And Tacoma and the Sidekicks were both very successful on their game, that they pressed them as well too. And then you look at Harrisburg, the last 2 games of the season, who sat back and counted them in Harrisburg, and both games came down to the end. Mm-hmm. So it's to maintain a full press on that field, it takes loads of discipline. It takes a great deal of fitness. And Chihuahua is very fit and very technical, and they're a sound team. So no one's figured it out yet, but the challenge is there, and guys like me are going to want to continue that challenge.
So Eddie, take us through the altitude and what it's like to play, because before we went on air, we were talking about, you were wondering when San Diego actually got to Chihuahua for this. because you've been through this and you said you got to kind of thread the needle. There's a certain amount of time you should either get there before, like way before, in order to adapt, or shockingly enough, I didn't actually know this one, even like on game day, you were saying. So explain the difference between the two and what the bad spot is. I think you said around a couple days before, you're asking for trouble, right?
I've experienced both sides of that coin. I had a coach one time in Chicago that's fly in 3 days before and get regular acclimation and train sessions and stuff like that. And 3 days was the worst thing we could have possibly done, because by halftime we had no legs. And then we've had teams when we actually flew in the day of the game. The NBA does this quite a bit as well too. Play the game and get out. So anybody who has skied will understand. Yep. Days 2, 3, and 4, you've got a lot more fatigue than you do in the original first day. So I don't know when San Diego got there, but I did notice they did look a little fatigued, especially toward the end of the second half and in game 3. But I don't know when they got there, but it is a factor. I mean, it's over 4,000 feet. So I think it was 4,600 feet, if you will. So it's definitely a factor that needs to be taken into consideration. But then again, budget. If you can get there a week ahead of time, get acclimated. A lot of hockey teams and the U.S. national team train where? In the Rockies, for a long period of time, several weeks, get the lungs, fully inflated and then go out and play their matches.
Eddie, we've got about a minute here before the break. How does this Savage team compare to other dynasties that have existed in the league from all your years of watching and playing and all that stuff? How would you compare this team?
They're getting better.
Yeah.
I thought they were second best last year to Monterey. And Milwaukee took care of Monterey to prevent that showdown. But I think they're getting better. And the fact that they're M2 team, I had a chance to call that game a couple years ago. Their M2 team could probably compete in the M1. So I think they're getting better, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So we as other teams got to figure them out. So
yeah,
I think the playoffs there can help with that, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Okay. Why don't we touch on that in the next segment, guys?
Yeah.
As we wrap things up. Okay. More MSL Monday coming back in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. Alex Bastiavansky, along with producer Phil Levanco and friend of the show, Eddie Puskarich, head coach of the Texas Outlaws. Our final segment of the final show of the season. I know.
It's terrible news.
Terrible news. What are we going to do with ourselves on Mondays, for crying out loud?
I don't
golf.
I wish. It's 50 degrees, 40 out. It's crazy.
I golfed on Friday, boys.
Ooh,
I will say.
no.
Yeah, I know. I'm not. Well, you can golf anytime you want, Eddie, in Dallas, for crying out loud. You're definitely. Look at how dark he is, Phil.
I know.
For crying out loud.
His tan is better than two of us.
Coaching tan. I'm outside coaching all the time.
Glowing. But guys, as we wrap things up, I know you both wanted to comment on the playoff format this season and get your thoughts in on it. So whoever wants to take it away, go ahead.
Originally, I thought the whole, and I'm going to call it a bubble because it was kind of came from the COVID bubble. I thought the bubble was a good idea. But then after getting more thought to it and watching the show and stuff like that, I kind of disagreed. I'm going to tell you why. I think you work so hard to get into the playoffs. And teams like Utica, Milwaukee, Kansas City, and I even put the Empire with their last season surge with the 10, stuff like that. You would want to host a game. And from a player standpoint, a coach standpoint, let's sleep in our own beds, give our fans something to put their hat on, and to have the whole season come down to one game, almost like a play-in type game. I just thought it's a little bit harsh. So I mean, Utica travels cross country. They play one game and they're done. And thanks for making the playoffs. And here's your parting gift is a long ride home and some pretty good budget for airfare and stuff like that. So I would like to see. I know it's going to extend the season a little bit, but I'm okay with that. I would like to see a best of 3 series if I had my druthers. So
And Eddie, this, right? The challenges of this league, right, with getting your arena and sort of, it's difficult. And it's, I think the bubble, which I think is an accurate way to describe it too. The bubble, like you say, it was sort of a plan out of necessity, not of need, right? I do love, now we have to be real here. This is 2025. your broadcast partner, and it was great to have all of those games on CBS Golazo, right? You're rubbing elbows with the Champions League when you do things like that. So I really like the positioning of having it in one spot, and who doesn't like a trip to San Diego? Now, obviously, there were its challenges, and I don't want to sort of go in through there, and it's very, very, frustrating for those who put some time and effort into sort of planning that weekend too. But I don't mind the bubble. I think it's a good idea. I would love to. It's a celebration of the sport as well, and you can bring in, your production partners, and I think that's a very critical portion of the discussion moving forward too.
If we kept the bubble, why don't we make it earlier and have the teams play 2 games? You know what I'm saying? Instead of waiting until the end of the week, play it in the early part of the week. And the biggest thing for me is how many fans did not have a chance to attend.
Yeah.
I mean, Utica's good. I mean, how many fans from Utica made the trek out to San Diego?
Yeah.
Or even down from Tacoma, or the case may be. Or in this case, not Tacoma, they make the play. Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's just difficult, I think. And we gotta recognize that we have some really good attendances this year. I mean, and we want to make sure our fans are going to buy into our next season as well too, by offering them a good playoff game once in a while.
And it's a two-front battle, no doubt, right? But you also, how many people watch the games because you were on CBS, right?
Quite a few.
Yeah. Yep.
Good point.
Yep.
So, guys, we're almost out of time. Before we go, though, how about pick a favorite moment of the season? Just one, and then we'll get out of here. So, Phil, what was yours?
My favorite moment outside of those first 30 seconds when I was looking at my television and our 2 dumb bald heads were on the TV. Kelvin's chip in Utica.
Oh, that was mine.
That's a goal of the year. That was phenomenal.
You took my moment, Phil.
Oh,
this is not rehearsed. Not only did he chip the keeper, but the camera was right there, and his reaction with the camera and
turned to the camera, and
that was my moment of the year. Well done, Phil.
Oh my
pretty
gosh.
Sweet. So I had a cup. I was gonna say, it was pretty cool. Roscoe, some of the goals he scored for Empire, Obasi's system this season, they really turned things on its head. To me, that's one of the better moments. And also, you know what? The ambush making the playoffs.
That's a great one too.
The back and forth they had with Tacoma, they came down to the final weekend. The drama was off the charts, and I thought that was really cool as well for the league. Tacoma, tough luck. Next year obviously they'll be back, but some pretty cool stuff this year. But guys,
and he's winning Milwaukee. That first game, San Diego, Chihuahua, San Diego. We had some great games this year for sure.
Great moments. But we've got to say thank you first of all to everyone for watching all season long. Thank you to our partners at CBS Sports Golazo for having us on. A couple bums like us, getting on every week with the shiny heads and everything, but we really appreciate it. Just first class all the way. We've really, really loved it. Thank you to all the folks at the league behind the scenes that helped to make this happen. JP Delacamera, John Rammond, Lindsay Durham, Jack Williams, Ken Stanley, all the guests we've had on the show through the season, and
including
repeating guests as well, like Eddie, who loves to come on the show, Joey T, Joseph Reyna, who came on a few times.
Anyone whose name is Joe.
Yeah, anyone is. I think we only had Philly on once this year, didn't we?
Only
had
Philly once, Eric once.
Yeah. We're gonna have to remedy that next season. But thank you everybody for watching all season long. Just a reminder, of course, stay up to date with everything that's going on in the league in the off season by checking out the MASL's official social media.
By the way, before you guys take off, and you don't get a chance to get many accolades, but you two guys, they're a phenomenal show. You keep the MASL in the weekly spotlight, and we appreciate you guys, both of you.
Thank you for the love, and thank you to producer Phil, who puts the highlights together actually on here. So love working with you boys. That is it. Until next season, thank you for watching, everyone. We'll see you in November.